Hello and a warm welcome to the TNC Podcast, your go-to Norwich City listen. 3 wins in 4 for David Wagner, 4 points off the playoffs. Everything's well.
Saturday night, and I like the way you move. Idah.
What are we moaning about? You know what I loved about Idah's goal?
Go on.
Silencing the 20%.
Well, look, mate, we're going to go on to those daft comments from Delia later on in this episode, aren't we? We've got a lot to cover in this.
We do.
Fire through the agenda.
I mean, so much has happened since we last sat here. We've had 2 away games, a defeat and a win, both in fairly dramatic circumstances. We've had an AGM. We've got a busy week or so coming up, which sort of concludes in a couple of weeks' time with the East Anglian derby. So much to talk about, Chris.
Yeah.
And we're wearing blue.
Yeah, well, I thought it would be appropriate to wear our Pompey colours, Jack.
Play up Pompey.
Play up Pompey. We'll wear our Portsmouth colours. No, I jest. We are wearing them for a reason, aren't we, Jack?
We are. Well, as most of you know, hopefully all of you know, we are partnered with Norfolk and Waveney Mine, and we have been for, what, 2-3 years?
Yeah.
It's been a little while.
Yeah.
And hopefully you know what Mine do. If you don't, they are Norfolk's mental health charity. They're, of course, nationwide as well. And they do brilliant work in the community, Chris.
Absolutely, they do. And this week is Grief Awareness Week, Jack, which is something that personally we are very, very passionate about raising awareness for, creating conversations around, and sort of, I guess, combating the stigma around, talking about, the loss of a loved one or grief, which of course at some stage will touch everyone, and is something that, Jack and I, we bonded over, didn't we? That's how we first met. You'd obviously lost your dad, I'd lost my mum, and we almost became brothers through our own grief, didn't we? And so we wanted to dedicate this episode to Norfolk and Waveney Mind, for Grief Awareness Week. And if you are struggling with loss, and that doesn't necessarily mean something that happened a week or a month or a year ago, if you're struggling with the loss of a loved one from 10 years ago, head over to our social media account, TalkNorwichCity. We posted something out today, actually, with a little link on it that will direct you through lots of incredibly useful information on grief, and how to navigate that from these guys, Norfolk and Waveney Mind. So yeah, please do go and check that out, and please go and support the cause. And critically, let's talk about grief more, right, Jack? Because the more we talk about it, the more that it helps everyone cope with it, right?
Exactly, and I think that the great thing with Norfolk and Waveney Mind is, and talking about it in general, there's no right way to navigate grief. The way you would have dealt with the death of your mum would have been very different to the way I dealt with things, and the way that we both dealt with things will be very different to how people at home deal with things. And the sad thing is, Chris, at some point, whether you're 17 or 71, you will lose someone or something, and being able to support each other and having the resources out there, I think is really important. And we're really proud to push what Mind are doing. And hopefully you're not struggling, and hopefully you haven't been through something. But if you are, you know where to reach out. The links to them are always in the description of every single one of our videos. So go over there, speak to them if you're struggling, and hopefully you haven't got to suffer alone.
Absolutely. And another public service announcement, flipping to our other charity partner.
We're very charitable.
Flipping to our other charity partner, just very quickly, bear with us please. But you'll be happy with this. Of course, we teased in our last podcast. We have now officially announced it.
We have Gabby Sarah. Not this mug. We're not selling the mug. We are selling the mug, not via Big C.
Yeah, we're not talking about the mugs, but which are for sale, by the way, but they're not in fundraising at Big C. However, we have kindly been given a signed Gabriel Sarah shirt
very kind
from the man himself. He wanted to give back to the local community. He was very passionate about supporting Big C. We have put that up for a raffle, which means anyone can enter, not just people with lots of money that can donate big bids, which I know a lot of people have fed back to us. We've put this up for a raffle, so you can donate as little as £2 or as much as £25 or £50. The more money you give, of course, the more entries you get, is the way it works. T's and C's apply. Go and check out the information. But yeah, the Gabriel Sarah signed shirt. I think, Jack, at time of posting this, we've already raised over £700. Wow. So big thanks to Gabrielle Sarah, and again, I think you'll put the links in the description.
Links in the description. We'll be drawing it, I think, the Monday after the Ipswich Town game, so still a week or so to enter.
Chuck a couple of quid in.
Yeah, every pound counts, and yeah, absolutely. So get stuck in. Norwich City.
Yeah.
Lots has been happening.
Saturday night, and I like the way you move.
Chris,
Adam Idah.
I am
confused.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
I think that's okay. I think you're allowed to be. I have a very interesting question.
Okay.
Not just for you, Jack, but for the Norwich City fans watching as well. So we've now won 3 games in 4.
Yeah.
Okay. By hook or by crook, despite them being pretty shoddy performances, certainly in terms of the amount of control and possession we've had, we've won 3 games in 4. Yeah. Now, my question to you and the Norwich fans is, we now come up against Preston at home at Carrow Road, and then Sheffield Wednesday at home at Carrow Road. Of course, then is the East Anglian Derby. If we win the next 3 games...
Win all 3.
Yeah, if we win all 3, does David Wagner get back your full faith? And would you say you're then Wagner in after saying you're Wagner out? Does your opinion change? Because that's a sustained period of victories, right? Whether you want him out or not, could it change your mind?
Well, I mean, let's see what happens first. I think it's always dangerous being so black and white in football, and I never like being, are you Wagner in or Wagner out? Because I think you can analyse certain aspects of Wagner and some are good things. And there's certainly, he's not all bad. And there's certain things we go, oh, I'd like to change that. I'm still of the opinion that Norwich City won't get where they want to be. And I'm saying this from a club perspective. They said that their aim this season was to get into the playoffs. I think we're going to fall short of that with David Wagner in charge. Yeah. Now, as you say, 3 wins in 4 is a very good chunk of form. There are a couple of tough away games in there. Cardiff away, Bristol City away. They're not so easy. QPR at home you'd expect to win. The fashion in which we lost at Watford was really disappointing. I think the next 3 games will be interesting. You've got a Preston side slightly out of form. You'd hope to probably beat them, although they're above us in the league. QPR are a fascinating one that have been shocking all season. Sheffield Wednesday, shocking all season. Change of manager, turned around slightly. Ipswich away, I've written off, so anything there would be big. Even in the results the positive results we've had, I've not seen positive performances. And
so answer my question: we win you've got those results by hook or by crook.
Well, if
we win the next 3, do you change your opinion on Wagner?
Well, I don't think we do win the next 3.
Okay.
I think the only way you do win the next 3, and I probably put the Ipswich game in isolation because as much as it hurts to say, I think they are one of the best teams in the division, if not the best.
I agree.
So if you go there and get something, you've put in a bloody good performance, and I think the performances haven't been good. So if we do win the next 3, and I don't think it will happen, of course the opinion has to change. And I think you do have to be fluid with your viewpoint on things. Football is ever changing. Does my opinion on Wagner change after the last 3 games? No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But there's clearly something about him that the board like, otherwise he wouldn't still be here. So we are in a really fascinating position. Look, Sunday's game was just lovely to win, and I was delighted for Adam Idah, and I was delighted to see Wagner on the pitch with the players, and it was a moment, and this is why we support Norwich City, and this is why we support football. So, I was finding it really difficult to, and I didn't moan after Sunday's game, because I was like, I'm going to soak this up, I'm going to enjoy it for this moment.
You've got to enjoy it, haven't you, Jack? Like
Absolutely.
I saw so much stuff on social media afterwards of, well, it was shit, and we were this, and we were that, and da-da-da-da.
And that's true.
Yeah, well,
we were.
Yeah, I know, but guys, we've been so shoddy for weeks. Can't we all just enjoy a last-minute winner? Can't we all just have a little break?
I think you could enjoy it, but I still think you have to see the bigger picture.
The thing is, though, Jack, most Norwich fans with their heads screwed on, they understand the fact that this style of football or performance levels is not sustainable. We all know that. But I did struggle, Jack, because that last-minute winner goes in. It's a brilliant, euphoric moment, and yet we're still sort of dragging ourselves back to this negative position. So, look, things can change very quickly in football, and I agree with that.
I think the big positive is from that. Obviously, last-minute winner, great. When when managers are under pressure,
Yeah.
often an argument thrown at them is they've lost the dressing room. And I
Yeah.
think this is as far from that as it could be. I think the players like Wagner.
Yes.
I think that Wagner likes his players, and that's
Yes.
a huge positive. Now, can he get the best out of those players? I don't think he can.
I agree.
But in terms of a foundation to work from, at least he still has the support of the
Yeah.
dressing room, and I think that's big.
Yeah, I want to make this clear because, you know, social media is social media. I still think that we should change our head coach. I still think that we could improve or progress to the next point that we need to get to this season if we make that change. And I still think and believe that that the writing's on the wall and that they will change it as soon as they can. But actually, what I think Norwich fans need to realise is if you just sack David Wagner, you're left with Narcissus in charge. You know, is that actually any change considering the relationship that David Wagner does have with his players? His man management is good, better than other managers before him. So that's a positive. And if you take the leader out and you're just left with Narcissus for however long, I don't really think that's going to improve things. In actual fact, I think there's a risk that it gets worse. But I think it's very obvious, Jack, that Norwich City don't just want to find another sticky plaster solution, because after Daniel Farke's long and you know mostly successful tenure at the football club, we tried a sticky plaster in Dean Smith. We'll box it with Dino. He might be able to keep us up. Didn't work. Oh God, Dino's not worked. Right, let's quickly get my mate from Huddersfield. Yep, David Wagner. Yep, brilliant. Let's bring him in. Yeah, and it's been like that ever since. Norwich do not want to do that anymore.
Yeah,
they want to draw a line in the sand, and so therefore, realistically, what manager, you know, is available that's like for the long term, that's within Ben Napper's actual vision and mission and plans, right? So I can kind of see, like, I do want a change of head coach, but at the same time, I would maybe I've positively challenged my own thoughts on this, and I've gone, well, actually, yeah, hang on a minute, Chris. Yeah, so get rid of David, you're left with Narcissus, nothing changes, and it actually could get worse. But then the other thing is, then you want to be able to hire someone for the long term, not just another sticky plaster solution. So I think that sort of challenged my thoughts and my feelings. Obviously, these 3 wins have helped.
Yeah, of course.
Watford, you know, the way we lost to Watford was woeful. Let's not beat around the bush. It was woeful. It was such a shockingly poor performance. I do think we got lucky away at Bristol, of course, but you know, a win is a win in these circumstances. Especially, you have to take those wins when they come. So yeah,
and I think the thing that's important, and I agree with all of that, and I do think winning games does allow us to go, you know, or we're maybe just seeking out time to find the best replacement. If we'd have lost 1-0 at Bristol City or 2-0, if it wasn't for Rangus's brilliance at times, we wouldn't be sitting here going, oh, you know, Ben Napper's allowed more time. We just wouldn't be saying that. What I would say about David Wagner is I've been incredibly impressed with how he's held himself in interviews. And I'm not in a sense of his answers to certain like tactical questions.
Yeah, because they've been
interesting.
Silly.
But I have been impressed. He's not at any point gone, you know, he's never turned it back on the fans, I don't think.
Yep.
And he's not become bitter. And I think if I'd have been Wagner...
But Jack, forgive me for interrupting, that's fucking standard. And there's been people at this club that have blamed the fans, and that's unacceptable. So actually, David not blaming the fans, that's standard. That's not a praiseworthy thing.
But I think if I'd have been in Wagner's shoes and all of the noise that I'd been hearing, and rightly or wrongly, I would have become a bit like, you know what, screw this, I'm out of here. And actually, he's tried to plough on and he's tried to find results. Do I think Wagner should go? Yes. But I have been impressed that he's maintained...
I've said this from the off though, mate.
He's a good bloke.
He's a good bloke. He's likeable. He's ever the professional. His moral compass is intact, and that is a positive. And so but look, it's a really interesting dynamic that's going on at the moment. You know, we're in sort of untrodden ground with this dilemma that we've got in this financial circumstance that we're in with a new sporting director. Again, everything's up in the air at Norwich City, so it is going to be up and down. There is going to be turbulence.
And I read a comment. I think it was after my match review, and some comments we get are critical, and you go, "Oh, I'm not sure that's fair." There was a critical comment about my evaluation of things that I thought was completely fair, and they said, "Jack, you predicted us to finish I think 9th or something at the start of this season.
Did you? I thought you said in around the relegation zone.
Well, I think I put in my review 9th because I just couldn't bear putting us any lower.
Okay, right.
So he said, you predicted us to finish 13th.
Yeah.
We are 13th.
Yes.
Why are you suddenly so critical? We're meeting your expectations. And actually,
okay,
fair enough. But I think I've been frustrated with the way that we've played.
Yeah.
I think we do have talent in this squad that isn't being got the full amount out of.
Agreed.
And actually, I think a lot of my frustration has been targeted not just at Wagner but at Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones.
The club,
and Stuart before this.
Yes,
so,
yes.
But the manager is always the easy one to, because that is the thing that you can change instantly. You can't suddenly get a new owner
or a new squad,
a sporting director. So that's been the easy out. What time did we kick off? 1:30 on Sunday, whatever it was. When the team news came out, you've seen Kenny McLean at centre back. Onel's still in the squad, and I know you're Onel's biggest fan, but I think if he'd have been dropped, you would have probably gone, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Borja Sainz still not in the squad.
Yep.
What were you thinking at that moment?
Well, I was really, really concerned. Not concerned, confused actually, or bemused somewhat, because we've got Jayden Warner, who, as far as I understand, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't find anywhere as there being a reason as to why he wouldn't at least be, in that team. I don't know how Shane Duffy has kept his place in this team, to be honest with you, considering his record, the amount of yellow cards he gives away. I could go on. And we got Danny Bart, and I think it was very harsh to drop Danny Bart. He scored away at Watford, and yes, of course, we conceded 3 to Watford, but I wouldn't say necessarily he was to blame for conceding those 3 at Watford. And so I thought to put a midfielder in at centre-back was just silly, facts don't care about feelings, as we like to say. So you could say David Wagner proved us wrong, because Kenny got the assist for Adam Idah's goal, which we'll go on to in a minute. But very strange, and thought, I'm just thinking, if I'm one of those, if I'm Danny Bart or I'm Jayden Warner, I'm thinking, fucking hell, David.
I think
I don't get that. I did find it very confusing. But then the other side of this, Jack, is that what a massive compliment to Kenny McLean. Because Kenny McLean actually put in one of the best centre-back performances of the season.
Not hard.
Right, of course. But doesn't that speak volumes, right? That a midfielder was put in and ended up getting the assist for the goal, and didn't in my opinion set a foot wrong against Bristol. So yeah, I thought, look, big up to Kenny. I thought it was a bit of a weird lineup, but that's not new. We're used to these very strange David Wagner lineups. There was a NCFC Numbers put something on social again at the weekend about the number of centre-back pairings. I can't remember the stat, but go and check it out. It's like we've changed it like 1 million times in the last 6 weeks, and so it's no wonder that we keep leaking goals. I think what I would say around Borja, I need to speak about Borja. I think I understand that actually the reason that he's not started as much is that he's still adapting to the English language, and that's something that I'll hold my hands up. I didn't account for. I just didn't account for it, and I actually am. I'm sorry for that, because I just sort of blast. Because I'm frustrated that he's not playing, because he has got some talent, that boy. And I'm hearing good things about what he's like at training. But ultimately, if he's not adapted fully, or at least enough, to the English language to take on board tactics, instructions, etc., then of course we can't expect him to start football matches and perform at the highest level. So I think that would be what I would say around Borja.
The argument would be for Borja, and look, it's very much the players that are on the bench are always seemingly better than those on the pitch. But, I think Onel's numbers this season, and I think his performance on Sunday was actually better.
Yep, I agree. Almost scored. Didn't score, but almost scored.
The argument would be, well, Borja wouldn't be any worse than Onel.
Right. Okay.
That would be the argument for you.
Well, my argument is I'm surprised that... Actually, no, I'm not surprised. But I think there's like a narrative of Wagner's picking Onel over Borja. But actually, Borja can play a number of positions in midfield. He can play as a number 10. And actually, we've put all sorts of people in at number 10 recently, which is strange. And for me, I think I would fancy Borja there, although he is a winger, so maybe he could play the other side, but he's not. even while Johnny Rowe's been out, which for me was a bit confusing. I think he's able to play on either wing. So I think there is this narrative that, you know, he's picking O'Neill over Borja, and yeah, you could say that, but I think he can play number 10. He can play out on that other position as well. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that, but look, I think it was a better performance from O'Neill against Bristol. Of course, gutted like everyone that he didn't score, and actually did really well. You know, under that amount of pressure in that situation. You know, he knows that his numbers haven't been good enough this season, and he is doing absolutely everything he can to try to improve. And yeah, I have every faith that he will.
What I would say about Sunday's game, you know, the reintroduction of Johnny Rowe and Angus Gunn from injury is I think, genuinely the difference from not winning that game to winning. I think if you have both of those in the match against Watford, we win, and we win quite comfortably. So I think the reintroduction of those two guys, Josh Sargent hopefully back in the next month or so, I think that can only be positive. I think it's not until you lose your first choice goalkeeper you realise just how much we rely on them.
Yeah.
I genuinely think Angus is one of the best goalkeepers in this division.
Yes, correct.
And look, I'm going to stop my pile-on of George Long, because it probably has got a little bit too much. But Angus being in, and just putting in an average Angus Gunn performance was 10 times that of George Long. And I think, you know, his couple of stops at 1-0 stops it from going to 3, and it gives us an opportunity. Johnny Rowe's couple of quick little bits of interplay on the right-hand side.
Yeah, he scares teams.
His quality to put defenders on the back foot. And I think having those two back in the side almost masks what was, again, a fairly intriguing tactical lineup from Wagner. And I think almost got him out of jail somewhat.
What I would say about... what I would say to, you know, light and shade this a little bit, Jack, is that in George Long's defence, an incredibly difficult... I think Angus actually said this in his post-match. An incredibly difficult circumstance. The team, it was, and arguably still is, a steaming pile of shite in many departments. No, come on. Let's be real.
I think you said that you were about to defend them.
No, I'm defending George Long.
Okay.
The team overall has been a steaming pile of shite.
So because
we
he's
don't
been
control
shite,
games, possession, etc., right? And so we're in this really poor vein of form, and then it's all of a sudden, right, Georgie, you're in, big man. Good luck. And actually, it's not exactly like he's got a solid defence in front of him. You know, the defence has been woeful, Jack, and so that would be, you know, where I'd side with George. I think you're entitled to criticise George. I wouldn't necessarily you know, go as far as what you've said. I think you've been critical of George Long. I think you've got fair reasons to be critical of George Long. But actually, I would just change that conversation to, actually, it's just really good to have Angus back.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
You know, we didn't sign George to be our number one keeper. Angus is our number one. He was brilliant against Bristol, made a couple of big saves, fingertip save. I think it was 2 fingertip saves. You know, just that presence of Angus. Really, I actually think that the defence felt maybe comfortable. I don't know if that's nonsense or not, but for me, that's how it felt.
Absolutely. Let's turn things into a positive. Let's talk about Adam Idah. We're going to refer to NCFC numbers again because he gives us the content we need, so we don't have to do any prep. NCFC numbers. Most goals off the bench in Norwich City League history.
Is he in that list now?
Adam Idah's at the top.
Oh,
8.
No, he's not.
8 league goals from the bench.
What?
Next up, Simeon Jackson was 7, Curitan, Trevor Howard, Cameron Drover 6, Wes, Paul McVeigh, David Nielsen, Murray
Wow.
5. Look, whatever you think of Adam Idah, he has given us some good moments this season. Hull, first game of the season, 95th minute winner. Cardiff, 92nd minute winner. Bristol City, 95th minute winner. And you go, you know what, like, fair play, big moments.
Yep.
He's come up with the goods. A couple of really tidy finishes in there. And I'm just delighted because Adam's clearly a lovely guy.
Yeah.
I think we've always known from a physicality element, he's got it. He's big, he's quick, he's strong.
Yeah.
And I thought the goal on Sunday was really nicely taken. He's got a lot of work to do, from harrying that defender, picking the ball up. He's got 20 yards to cover. He's got to finish one-on-one past the goalkeeper. Yes, in it was a fairly, you know, we should be expecting him to score, but there's still a lot of work to do. Big moment, lots of pressure.
Yeah.
And you could see how much not only it meant to him, but the pressure lifting slightly off Wagner. He's been relatively calm, I think, and he is quite a calm character, Wagner, but he's lost his head, and I'm all about it.
Yeah, David turned into David Mourinho, didn't he, running down the line?
I loved it.
I mean, I would have done the same, to be honest with you. I think there's this whole thing of, oh, that was a bit cringe that David Wagner did that.
Not.
No, it's great. You know, I think we need more of that passion in the sport. I think the soul and the passion is being sucked out of this game, and I was loving seeing David run up that line. Yeah. And good on you, David. Good on you, son. Adam Idah, okay? You know... the physicality, the run, as you say, the way that he just expected to win the ball. But for me, Jack, it was the touch that did it before the finish. And you know, maybe because we're so used to seeing Adam, you know, with these sort of, dare I say, toe poke desperate finishes. I guess it's not sexy to see Adam score, but I don't give a shit. 3 match winners this season. We say it time after time. Facts don't care about feelings. And do you know what? I see a direct line of correlation here between the love that Norwich City fans have shown Adam Idah and his performance levels. I see a direct correlation. And we saw it at the final whistle. Saturday night, and I like the way he moved, Adam Idah. Yeah? And fuck, that's going to fill him with confidence. I tell you what really got me going, more than the goal itself. God. Yeah? And I've said this, right? Earlier in the season, we saw somewhat of a muted Adam Idah when he was playing and also scored, you know, his body language. When he scored that goal, the roars, the passion, you could see his veins bursting. Like, fucking hell, Adam, that got me going. Like, absolutely brilliant. And that's the passion we want to see. Yeah. And that fires the fans up and it fires the players up. And I tell the Yellow Army one thing as well. He's really admired by his peers, Jack. He really is. And not just this group, by groups before him. Because of his physicality, the boy has got everything he needs. He's just, I guess, taken some time to, I don't know, maybe learn the game, maybe, you know, find his place in the team. But he's got everything. He's a confident striker. I think that, you know, his shoulders have dropped. He's like, actually, no, do you know what? There's nothing to lose. We're shit anyway. I'm going to give this a good go. Yeah. He's poked it home, and good on you, Adam Idah. I'm delighted for Adam Idah, and I'm so pleased. And we could go on a list, a massive long list of Norwich City scapegoats of past. Josh Murphy, Jacob Murphy, Russ Martin. I could go on and on and on, and here we are again with Adam Idah. He was made a scapegoat. Kenny McLean before that, and now I'm so happy that scapegoat thing is history. It's history. No one needs to get on the back of Adam Idah anymore, please. He's a brilliant player, and I'll put something in the room, Jack. Give that boy a fucking start. Stop bringing him off the bench. I want that boy starting. He's got everything we need to stretch the back lines. I think he's a brilliant, brilliant player.
Well, positive with Adam Idah. Let's just hold on to that for a few more days until maybe another bit of negativity arises. Look, it was a intriguing midweek. We had a defeat to Watford. We also had an AGM, which was filled with sound bites. And yeah, just a night where, you know, I watched the interviews back and I'm like, I don't know where to start with this stuff.
Do you know, Jack, I was the same. I was sort of, I tend to like make notes and stuff, and I was like, I'm going to be here all night. I just thought, just you know, there wasn't like one or two, there was like 18 different things. So it was a PR disaster, wasn't it?
We had Mark Atanasio there.
Yeah.
We had Ben Napper there.
Yes.
Of course, Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones, Tom Smith, etc. The majority of the press was done with Mark Atanasio and Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones.
Yeah.
Having gone through all of that and had a little bit of time to, you know, figure out what you think, what was your overriding sentiment?
Well, first of all, mate, I do need to say what a fantastic video you did. Your sort of AGM, I'll call it post-mortem, because that was how it felt. And if you haven't watched that yet, I'd highly encourage you to go and watch Jack's review, if you like, of the AGM. You know, I actually mostly agreed with most of your comments.
It's really difficult to, you know, we weren't in the room, we're not shareholders, so, you know, it's always difficult to comment on these things after. And I think, you know, we are also clutching at certain sound bites, like the 20% boo boys, etc., the Pompey thing.
Yeah.
They're the things that will hit the headlines because that's the way the media works.
Yeah.
I kind of went at it from less of that and more of a feeling and an overarching. and I just didn't get a good one.
No, I didn't either. I might start this in a I don't know, weirdly a positive note actually, which is that I would say that Mark Atanasio came out of it looking very, very good.
Yeah, I'm impressed with him.
I am very hopeful and optimistic of the Yanks coming into the club. Don't get me wrong, I know they're joint majority shareholders now. I think when they do inevitably become the majority shareholders, I can see a bright future with them at the helm. Of course, we're lucky to have interviewed them. I really value that they value the supporters. And I actually felt almost a bit of an awkwardness, dare I say, about Mark when Delia made the comment, you could maybe say. And, they didn't quite sit well with him. I think he was like, oh, God, Delia, why did you say that? I don't know, maybe that was just how I interpreted it.
Absolutely.
That's how I interpreted it. But I'd start by saying, actually, I did take Blumenek, thank goodness we've got the Atanasios coming in now. I felt that was really good. But... and I blooming hope that this puts to bed the absolute nonsense that I read on social media about us, I don't know, being in bed with the club or something like that. I thought Delia's comments particularly were daft. Ill-timed, poor, and it was really evident that her and Michael Wynne-Jones were just so... I know that they do spend time in the Lion and Castle, and I know that they do communicate with supporters, but Delia and Michael don't spend any time on social media. They don't listen to local radio, they don't consume a lot of the quote-unquote noise. But as a consequence of that, that's why they've come out with that stuff. And I guess my conclusion to all of the comments were, I really, for the first time, realise their age, and I really want to be so careful with this topic. I don't want to sound disrespectful. I'm really trying not to be disrespectful. I love and appreciate and respect everything that Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones have done for this football club, but it was that AGM that made me think, cool, blimey, I can really now sense that you're an older person.
I think it was the first...
Do you know where I'm coming from with that?
And I think...
I hope that came across in the right way.
Absolutely, and I think, we like to romanticise football, and we like to be like, it's our little community thing. But actually, this is a multi-million pound business, and it's very rare to see two 82-year-olds almost as the figurehead of that. And it was the first time I looked at this and went, actually, the future lies away from Delia Smith and Michael Wynne-Jones, because literally for my entire lifetime...
Me
too.
The
majority shareholders, and actually now we've got a split, and the Atanasio group's coming in, and actually I looked at them and thought, the future's not with you guys, and part of me felt quite sad, and
because they just didn't present well. So it's interrupted,
and I think what I said about David Wagner in terms of not biting back and it's not an attack on David Wagner, it's not an attack on Delia Smith and Michael Wynne-Jones when we kind of criticise. We want the best for our football club.
Yes.
As does David Wagner.
Yeah.
As does Delia Smith. As does Michael Wynne-Jones. That's all we want. This has never been a personal thing. And I listened to the replies from Delia, particularly to Connor Southwell and to Andy Ward of ITV. And I thought, the laughs. She said to Connor, well, you weren't even born. You don't even know. What did she say? She said something like, they don't have a clue how a football club is run. And actually, I'm starting to think, like, you don't either. It was an attack. It was biting back. And I thought, you know what? This shouldn't be bitter. This shouldn't be us against them.
Yes.
It's feeling Weber vibes. I'm thinking, we all want the same thing here. You might want it to go in a certain direction. We want it to go in another direction. And you're bang on. I thought... I saw Mark Atanasio squirming at some of the comments, and partly because he will have had media training. He's from the corporate world of America. It's a bit more polished, right?
Yeah.
And I do respect the fact that Delia and Michael have always said what they think.
Yeah, that's true.
But I watched that and thought it was a tinge of sadness. I thought, this is the end of an era.
Yeah, I think that's nicely summarised. But to be clear, I think I can talk on behalf of you, Jack, by saying we are not happy with Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones' comments.
No.
We've seen some weird social media stuff about us not criticising Delia. Let me tell it to you straight. Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones got a can of petrol at the AGM and they poured it on the fire. The comments were just silly. I have no idea. I can't fathom why they came out with it. I mean, and let's talk about that. You know, I know that there's lots, Jack, but there were some particularly poor. I mean, there was the 20% thing. Again, we're down the fucking percentages road. We were there with Stuart's 90%. Here we are.
Yeah, all that is it's segmenting fans,
yes,
and that's not needed.
Stop creating a divide, please. I know it's been tough, and I know that I know that it's not easy to perform in an environment where it is negative because of what we're seeing on the pitch. But you can never blame the fans. Don't ever. It's like the standard of football. As soon as you blame the fans, you're onto a loss. It's just daft.
And let's change the viewpoint of this slightly. Let's call us customers. All right, we are customers of a big business.
I quite like this.
And we are buying their products.
Yep.
Their expensive products on a really regular basis. And the experience we're getting from this isn't a good one. And it's a sustained poor experience. If you were a customer of John Lewis and the product you've just brought isn't working, you'd moan. And they would go, you know what, you'll bang on, here's a refund. Look, it's a different world. They were almost saying, like, this is what we're giving you, and you like it or you leave. Well, I tell you what.
That was how it came across. But season ticket renewals are coming up, mate.
Don't take fans for granted.
100%, mate.
Don't take them for granted.
But do you know what, Jack? I think at that AGM, I interpreted it like that. I interpreted it as, blooming heck, I can't remember the exact figure. I think I might be paying 550, 60, 70 quid or something for my season ticket.
At least. And
because of the fact that I've been critical this season, I've been made to feel like I'm a problem, and actually maybe I'm not welcome. And it's just so stupid. But again, the conclusive summary from both of us is they're old, and it's time for change. And again, to balance it, I love, appreciate and respect everything they've done. They've saved us during the most hard financial times. They really have. They do so much good behind the scenes in terms of little personal touches for people, including my father. They've done so much. But after that AGM, it became very obvious, didn't it, Jack, that it is time for change at the top of the tree, which we are now finally seeing in the Atanasios.
Absolutely. Right, let's get on to Twitter questions, and we shall start.
Oh yes, go on.
One of our sponsors.
Go on.
Oliver Hill.
Go on.
Always great to see Oliver Hill. And you know
What's he saying?
I'm surprised he's had time to tweet. He's usually out on the golf course, isn't he? So good to see that. Good to see these getting in touch. Oliver, great to hear from you. He said so. I'd really like you two to talk about the atmosphere on, he's put Saturday, I think he means Sunday, or maybe the Saturday before. You cannot argue with 3 wins out of 4. On paper, it's very good. Therefore, is it not our duty as fans to support the team 100% throughout the game? Moan before, moan afterwards if necessary, but not during.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, do you know, Oliver, I agree. With the context of the previous run of results. 3 wins in 4. It's been shit performances, but we've got 3 wins in 4. We now go into 2 winnable home games. They are. I know Preston and Sheffield Wednesday, they're right. I think they got a result against Leeds, didn't they? Which was a bit of a shock. Am I right in saying that?
They got a result. I don't think it was against Leeds.
Oh, was it not?
I don't know.
I think it might be. But anyway, fine. They got a result. But again, against Preston, 2 home games coming up. I do agree with Oliver on this, and I do implore the Norwich City fans. But actually, do you know what, Oliver? I do actually think on the whole the fans have been there for this football team this season, in spite of circumstances and in spite of unnecessary fan poking from all angles. Yes, it's been hyper negative and definitely toxic, and then turned apathetic in a large patch. But I think Oliver's point is, I think that we've got an opportunity to exit this now. And now I think we mostly all agree, we're sceptical of the sustainability of this performances, of David Wagner. But I think Oliver's onto something. We've got 2 winnable home games. Yeah, let's worry about Ipswich when we come to it. I know that you and I have a pretty similar feeling. We don't expect to get anything. I honestly think they'll trample all over us. I really do, with the style of football they're playing compared to us. And the performance levels and the possession and blah, blah, blah. Let's win the next 2 games. How do you win the next 2 games, Jack? We make Carrow Road rock. And we can do that.
I would agree partly, and
Okay.
I think you do need to get behind what you're given. What I would counter Oliver's point there, football fans still, and particularly at this moment in time, feel that they're not being heard, and that doesn't help when you've got Dealey coming out and going, well, 20%, it's 20% of the boo boys. The only opportunity the vast majority of football fans have to voice their opinion is at 90 minutes on a Saturday. So if they want to go and boo. It's the only time in which they can get the owners and the board to listen. Because as you say, Dealey's not on social. You're not going to be able to write a letter to Stuart and voice your opinion. So,
well, not Stuart, he's buggered off.
Well, before. When you want change,
yes,
you need to make your voices heard.
Yep. But you can do that at the final whistle or before the game, as Oliver says.
You can. But what I'm saying is I'm just sick and tired, and I'm not saying Oliver's criticising the fans, because he's certainly not. I'm sick and tired of the constant well, this is what you're getting type vibe, and you either soak it up or actually when you see the extent, particularly on Sunday, great example. I had a few messages before I'd even woken up, 5:10 in the morning, from people on the way in the car because the trains were on strike. They've lumped £100 in for tickets and fuel.
Bravo! And
they were going with no expectation, just to back the boys. Yeah. The only reason they're going. And they're the fans that we don't hear from. They're the journeys. Yeah. It's all well and good us sitting in a nice warm house and listening to it on the radio. Yeah. We weren't there. Yeah. We didn't spend the money to go. Yeah. Plenty of people did. And if they want to go and make their voices heard,
I guess they're entitled to, yeah.
Fair play to them.
I know you are right. I think Oliver's just saying,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's make a good go of these next two games.
Absolutely. And there is an opportunity to try and turn the ship. Absolutely.
We've got a question that's coming from Shakespeare Canary, Neil Harrison 211. Question: do you think Napa is waiting until January and Wagner's 12-month contract expires until replacing him?
Well, I think we know what we're waiting for, and we're waiting for a replacement that Napa feels suitable. Yeah. And a long-term replacement. Yeah. And someone that Napa can look at and have their ideologies match up. I think there's still what Wagner wants compared to what Napa wants is slightly different.
I think that's, slightly, mate.
I think that's a concern.
Hugely contrasting.
And look, bringing in a head coach will be hugely time-consuming. You need the right person. I'm frustrated that it is felt like over the last couple of weeks we're not trying to make a change, and we've kind of been sleepwalking. That's been my frustration. But I do get where it's coming from. I don't know. I don't know what's happening anymore. I don't know what will go on. I think Wagner will be here for the Ipswich game.
Yeah, I think we can agree on that now. Yeah.
I think he will be here for that, which petrifies me a little bit, but
petrifies me hugely.
We shall get behind it. I don't think Napa wants Wagner here long term. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I think that. I think if you're a so-called data man and you look at the stats and you're like, the future is a David Wagner Norwich City, then I think you're in la land, to be honest with you. But they've got to hire someone on a long-term basis. Samuel has come in, Samuel Austin, Jack, and he's got a statement. McLean playing in defence and Gunn coming back was huge for us against Bristol. But it does show how poor our recruitment is, how bad Long was performing and how crap the defence has been this season. Napa has a lot to do and fix in January. What I want to take from this, actually, sorry to shorten your statement there, Samuel, is Napa has a lot to do and fix in January. Jack, the narrative that's been fed previously is we ain't got a pot to piss in, we can't sign players unless we sell them. And actually, I'm maybe getting, I don't know, maybe I'm just clinging on to any sort of positive straw at the moment to hold on to for dear life. Could we be about to see, I don't know, 3-4 loan signings in January to try and restart this car and get it in the playoffs last minute? I don't know.
Potentially, and I definitely think that Napa and his colleagues will be looking at this league and going, God, we have been awful this season and we're 4 points off of the playoffs. If we'd have held on, which we should have done against Watford, we'd be a point outside the playoffs. Yeah. And we've been awful. Yeah. And we've been without our best striker or for the majority of this season. So I think they will look at this and go, if we can tinker a little bit and get the right person in from a head coach perspective, which I think they'll be looking at, and maybe adding a little bit of quality here and there, I think they will think that the playoffs are still within reach. But it is bang on in terms of recruitment. That the fact that they deem Kenny McLean going into centre-back necessary because they don't have the capable ball-playing defenders to fill that role. You lose Gibson, who I think is our best, and certainly not perfect, but I think is our best ball-playing centre-back in terms of can pick a pass.
I agree.
The fact that we're having to put Kenny in there, we've seen Pojeta at left-back, Liam Gibbs in the number 10. It's a... And we've talked about it so much this season. It's a confused identity. Nothing's matching up here, and that's really dangerous.
Do you know what did make me giggle, right? David Wagner came out in the press last week saying something like, oh, well, yeah, it's clearly obvious that we've got an ageing squad and that we need to change it. Mate, you were a big reason why we've got an ageing squad. And don't get me wrong, obviously Stuart and his scouts or recruitment team have obviously, you know, they're a part of that. It's not all on David, but I found it very funny that David sort of came out with that as oh yeah, it's obvious, but mate, like we've just changed to that, and this is what Norwich City have got and will get away from under Ben Napper. This complete flip flop of recruitment strategies that we will get away from that. I find this just a quick gear change, please, to lighten it up, from Ron Morero, who we always say has got the name of the podcast. Congratulations, Ron, you've won it again this week. This is a hilarious analogy. Are you ready for this? That game, he's talking about the Bristol game, that game was like tripping, falling face first into a pile of dog crap, but also finding a $10 bill. Remember, I'm American and we don't use the term quid, in the freshly smooshed pile. Do you know what, Ron? Yeah, I agree with you. You know, and I don't think there'll be a Norwich fan out there that will go, "Cool, yeah, what a performance that was," you know. But I agree, you know, it was turgid, it was stodgy, you know, there wasn't really much to, you know, even, you know, Dimmy's, obviously, of course, you know, Dimmy created the first goal, the equaliser with an OG. But you're right. It was turgid, and we did find a $10 bill at the end of the rainbow.
I think it links in really nicely to a question from Beeston Gaming, and they say we needed something to get the fires burning again. Yeah. Is this the long-term fix we need? No. Does it keep our ship afloat a little longer? Yes. I still think the manager needs to change, but at least the players are actually playing for him. I completely agree. Yeah. I think the players playing for the manager is a huge benefit, and I think there is such a thing as losing a dressing room. So at least we know that's not a problem. Is it the long-term fix? No, it's not. Does it change anything? No, not really. But it just lightens the mood a bit, and we needed that so badly, Chris.
I'll tell you something that lightens the mood. Ashley Snelling has chucked a statement in. He simply says, "Oh, Adam Idah, the Irish R9, the Irish R9, the Irish R9. Oh, Adam Idah, the Irish R9." What a boy!
I just, you know, whenever Adam scores, I just smile because I really want him to succeed. I really want him to do well in the Norwich.
So you bloody should, because you're a Norwich fan.
So only ever good vibes when I see Adam score, and he's just got a knack of scoring really, really important goals this season for us, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, no, I agree. We've got another fun question that's coming from Lee Jones. Question: should we be looking to extend Adam Idah's contract? I feel 5 years is simply not enough for the GOAT. I mean, blooming heck, Lee, you need to stop taking advantage of our Laken's offer, I think, by the sounds of things. No, but in all seriousness, it's good that we're laughing and joking, and, you know, we're getting behind Adam again. That's brilliant. And again, another bit of praise from William Tyler for Adam Idah. Statement: Adam Idah needs to be starting games. Yeah, I agree. He's got the centre forward profile and physicality attributes. He can finish. He's got to be starting. 6 goals, 1 assist in 334 minutes played. I'm proper delighted for him.
In terms of minutes per goal, he's got one of the best ratios in the Championship. I guess the argument then comes back to, well, do you drop Ashley Barnes? And I know a lot of people are fans of Ashley Barnes. Yep. What happens when Sargent comes back into the side? Don't think they can both play. Absolutely. I think it comes back down to this. We've got 3... Well, you could even add Hwang onto the list because he's actually been quite impressive the last couple of games he's played. We've got different strikers for different occasions, and I think it's up to Wagner to manage that. You look back, and I always think back to the 2014-15 squad. You had Lewis Grabban, Gary Hooper, and Cameron Jerome. Yeah. 3 excellent Championship strikers at that period. And Alex Neil managed to get the best out of all of them, and that's really difficult to do because they would have all been hoping to play 90 minutes each. and at times only one of those three were playing, and actually all of them contributed hugely. So if we can get Wagner, or if he gets sacked, who the next manager is to manage these group of strikers, we've got a nice pool.
I don't think, I've said it before, I say it again, I don't think these players are, I don't think this group are that bad. Like, I think that this group have got the ability to be in the playoffs.
No, I agree.
Do you know what, Jack? I got it so wrong on the quality of this league at the start of this season. I look at the scum and I look at Leeds. Sorry, not Leeds. I look at the scum. Partly Leeds.
I think you've got 4 good teams in this.
Partly Leeds, partly Southampton. Only just. Definitely Scum and definitely Leicester.
West Brom.
4 good teams. I think West Brom have more or less. I think they've got to be.
So that's one playoff place left.
Yeah, and I reckon that we've got a chance. I really like this, and I'm sure that this sums it up for most fans watching and listening to this. Jamie Everson simply says, "Statement. I don't know what to think anymore."
Yeah,
and that's fair as well, isn't it?
Absolutely spot on. And Jamie, if you don't know, what to think, we certainly don't. It's so difficult when you're not make it out like this is a tough gig. It's the best gig in the world, but when you've got to form opinions on Norwich City on a constant basis, you are going to get certain things wrong in hindsight, right? And that's fine. And I can't stress this enough. Both Chris and I speak for Chris here, we only ever want the best for this football club. If the football club are doing well, we do well, and there's a good mood around the place, and that's all we've ever wanted. The best, most glorious, successful times for TNC have been when Norwich City have been playing well. There's this weird kind of theory that your team doing bad equals fan channels popularity doing well. It's not true. It's absolutely not true. Sometimes you'll have the odd game and you get thumped 6-2 at Plymouth, and we can.
But we're not doing. If we were doing fan cams, I would disagree with you, Jack, right? Because then the opposition tune in for the fan cams.
And it's a complex.
Yeah.
It's a really complex thing to get your head around, and you're not going to get it right. And it's okay to change your opinion,
mate. Thanks for bringing this up. Yeah, and I think this is a good. I think this is a selfish, thing to bring up, because I think actually you and I want to talk about this, but I actually want to flip it to begin with, talking about the fans. Please let this be known to you. It's totally okay to change your mind. It's totally okay to put something out there and then for it to be wrong, and then for you to eat humble pie. It's totally okay. And I think it's absolutely people have been criticising us recently for being in bed with the club, which just basically means you haven't been watching and listening to our content, because we've been very, very critical. Some people have said we're being way too negative and we're toxic. Honestly, we try to Jack, you'll vouch me on this. I spend so much time trying to create an agenda that's covering all of the areas of everything that what people are talking about, and we'll only say our opinion and some other. I think people are thinking, and I don't know, maybe I just don't understand anymore. Maybe I'm lost in this space, Jack. But I think people think that we're meant to be, when we have to be balanced. We don't. We're just Norwich fans. We've got an opinion. Sometimes you'll agree with me. Sometimes you'll disagree with me. Sometimes you'll agree with Jack, not that often. And most of the time you'll disagree with him. And that is okay. This is what a fan channel is all about. I'm really pleased that you've raised that, Jack.
I think and you've spoken about it before, the whenever I say, right, I want Wagner out, or I think we would be better off with a different manager, the argument back to me is always, well, you wanted Daniel Farke out and look how that happened. Well, we were going off what we could see, and people are assuming that if we'd have kept Daniel Farke, things would all be rosy. Now that is just using hindsight, and granted, we might be worse off because of Daniel Farke going. But my belief was football works in cycles. He wasn't the right man to take us forward. Who knows if it would have been better? Like, you have to go on what evidence you've got and form an opinion. And we all want the best for this football club. Some people would have wanted to keep him. There were plenty of people who've now weirdly changed their opinion, since we are slightly, in a worse position than we were under Daniel Farke. Going, well, I never called for his head. I saw the tweets. Yes, he did. But look,
I think this is a good point, though, Jack. Right? It's an emotional time.
There isn't a right answer.
Absolutely, and my point is on this. This is a very emotional, turbulent time to support Norwich City. This is where it is hard. It's not easy to support a team when things aren't going well. When there is a big disconnect, right? But what we want to make clear is that you're allowed to agree, and you're allowed to disagree, but let's try to do it in a constructive, friendly way, because some of the disconnect that's being caused partly by the football club, might I say. Let's not turn our backs on each other. We can agree to disagree as well, can't we, Jack? Which you and I do lots of times.
And this is an interesting one from the Norwich SAS, and I've heard this from a couple of people.
Right.
He said, if you don't like, if people don't want to get behind the team, just go and support someone else. If you did not perform at work for weeks, should your employer get rid of you, even though the previous weeks you performed well? And I think this is a really interesting one, because I've heard this a few times, and it's like, well, if you don't like what you've got, go elsewhere. This, it's not like, you don't pick and choose your football team.
Yeah.
You have your football team and you support them. That's the culture in England. It might be different in different...
Yeah.
The only reason we're angry and the only reason we're criticising...
It's because we love the club.
It's because we love the club.
Yeah.
You can't just... I can't just go, oh, well, Norwich aren't doing very well, so I'm going to go support Leicester.
Do you know what
That doesn't work like that.
I hate to bring up, just one thing, I saw something this week which I was just absolutely baffled by. Sorry to be selfish and bring this up again. That's my alarm going off.
I thought it was HMS PTL call.
Not almost. And someone said to me, Chris isn't even a Norwich fan. And I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake, oh my God. I just can't, yeah, you're very right, Jack. You're very right. We can't just stop supporting Norwich.
What I liked from Mark Atanasio and the AGM, and I think Rob Butler posed the question. He was like, clearly a lot of anger in the room tonight. And Atanasio said, good, I'm glad there is, because it shows that they care and it shows that they want this football club to go forward. Spot on.
And by the way, just a quick tangent as well. Another excellent comment from Mark Atanasio was he was quizzed about David Wagner's position, wasn't he? And his response was, yeah, and that'll be dealt with by Ben Napper, not me. Yeah, obviously. And and again, but Delia wanted to comment on that. And again, Jack, just to make it abundantly clear that we are happy to criticise the board. Despite the narrative led by some of our haters. I love Norwich. J555 says, rant. Really, Delia? How fucking dare you disrespect the fans who care about the club and are happy to voice their opinion that we are not happy with how our club is currently being run and how we play. We will complain because we know this club belongs in the Premier League. So there you go. Wanted to read that rant out, and I'm sure lots of people will agree with I just love Norwich.
And I think that most of the Twitter questions are down a certain line, and I do agree to an extent with Atanasio and Delia and Michael that you can't sack your way to success. That's also not a sustainable way of running a football club. And if you sack Wagner and you bring someone else in who doesn't work, and then you sack them, you're in this constant cycle. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
But we should be deemed to be taking action, at least trying to change the situation. That's been my frustration of the last 3 months. It feels like we're sleepwalking. It feels like it's us against them. Let's sack that. Let's sack that idea off. Let's all unite as one and try and bring this football club forwards. Are we capable of getting into the playoffs? Yeah, I think we are. But we need to see a little bit of change, a little bit of tinkering, and hopefully that will happen.
Well, the performance levels have to increase, and that comes from changing the head coach. But yeah, no, I agree with your point. But look, this is our rally cry to conclude, Jack, is for the next 2 home games, let's really try to come together and be positive and back those boys. Yeah.
So look, we've got
to get 6 points ahead of Ipswich.
Preston on Saturday.
Yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
Both at home.
Let's win them both.
What's your realistic expectation? What do you think will happen?
Well, actually, I will just change that. I refuse to say realistic, and I will say what I want and what I expect. And there's 2 wins. We're at home. We're at Carrow Road. We're playing Preston. We're playing Sheffield Wednesday. Let's remember who this football club is. Let's remember who we are. Let's remember that this season is not done, and let's get those fucking 6 points, and let's tee up a positive performance for the derby game.
Do you think we're capable of winning them both?
Look, I think it's. I don't think it's gonna be easy, but as a supporter, I expect it. We're at home. Let's get 6 points.
And say we do win the next 2, and that would then be 5 wins in 6.
Yeah.
What's the mindset then going into the East Anglian
Well,
derby?
I still think we're going to lose against Ipswich.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
And people don't like me for saying that, but I'm really sorry. It's just how I feel. And trust me, it pains me to say. It doesn't. I don't take any pleasure from saying that.
But I think this is, I was working in London on Wednesday,
Yeah.
and I was on the train back, and I had a long day, and I got the 9 o'clock train back from London, so I'd been there all day, and it was lovely and warm. The train was empty. It was nice and cozy. I was just dozing off.
Yeah.
Pulled into Ipswich, completely forgetting they'd played at home that night.
Oh dear.
The train fills with Ipswich fans. They just won against.
I'm surprised you got out alive.
Just about. And I'd forgotten what it's like to just feel on top of the world.
Yeah.
And the most frustrating thing, and a few of them knew who I was, and we had a bit of good back and forth actually. They were going through the Norwich fixtures, and they were going, right, they'll lose that, they definitely lose to Preston. Oh, so they'll be coming into our game like 5 defeats and 6.
Yeah.
If we go into that East Anglian derby having won 5 and 6, they're starting to think,
Oh yeah, no, they will be a little bit nervous. They will.
They're going to be getting a bit twitchy. So let's set up at least a chance of winning that game.
No, I do agree. Look, we've covered lots. Let's get
big week ahead.
Yeah, big week ahead, and to finish on the thing that we're here to talk about actually today is the fact that it's Grief Awareness Week.
Absolutely.
For Norfolk and Waveney Minds. Do go and check out their resources.
And I think that's a nice point, Chris. And I think, we all get so caught up about football and we get emotional and we go at each other when we don't agree, and that's fine if it's in a healthy manner.
Yeah.
But let's look out for each other. The support, if you are feeling slightly down, is out there.
Yeah.
The links to Minder is in every single description of our video, or just search Norfolk Mind. There are people out there to help you. You should not suffer alone in this day and age, and be there for each other. Football's a silly little game at the end of the day that we get far too annoyed about.
Absolutely.
So look out for each other and stay safe.
And if you fancy a chance of getting your hands on a Sarah signed shirt.
Can I win that, by the way? Because I've entered.
Well, yeah.
If I win, I'm not giving it to anyone.
I've not seen your donation.
Yeah. I've entered.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, get your donations in. The links are in the description. They're all over our social media accounts. We'll continue to plug it. You can donate as little as just £2 to be in with a chance of winning a Gabrielle Sarah signed shirt.
Imagine getting that shirt for £2.
You would be laughing.
You would be.
Just like we will be. This time next week, baby.
We'll be back next week for another TNC podcast. Look, stay locked into TNC. So much content going on at the moment. I can barely keep up. We will see you all again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.